The afternoon sun pressed hard against the glass towers of downtown, turning the financial district into a canyon of light and shadow. Sterling Gate Bank stood among them like a monument to wealth, its marble facade polished to a mirror shine, its revolving doors spinning with the rhythm of money changing hands. Inside, the air was cool and scented faintly with leather and expensive cologne. Customers moved across the polished floors in tailored suits and designer heels, their voices hushed, their transactions discreet. It was into this temple of prosperity that he walked. The man was tall, but walked with the slight stoop of someone who had carried heavy things for a long time. His work boots left faint prints on the glossy floor. His jeans were caked with dried mud along the cuffs. His shirt, once white, had faded to a grayish beige, and dust clung to his shoulders like he'd been traveling through forgotten roads. His beard was thick and untrimmed, his hair pushed back under a worn baseball cap. He carried nothing but a small leather wallet in one hand. The security guard near the entrance noticed him immediately. "Sir," the voice was firm, practiced. "Can I help you with something?" The man stopped and looked at him with calm, dark eyes. "I'm here to see the branch manager." The guard's expression didn't change, but his hand moved subtly toward his radio. "Do you have an appointment?" "No." "Then I'm afraid you'll need to leave." The man didn't move. He stood there, patient, as if he had all the time in the world. By now, others had noticed. A woman in a cream-colored blazer leaned toward her companion and whispered something behind her hand. A young executive in a navy suit glanced over, then quickly looked away, as if eye contact might invite trouble. Near the teller windows, an older gentleman frowned and shook his head slowly. The guard stepped closer. "Sir, if you don't have business here, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "I do have business here," the man said quietly. "I need to speak with the branch manager." "About what?" "My account." The guard's skepticism was written plainly across his face. People who looked like this didn't bank at Sterling Gate. They didn't have accounts here. They came looking for handouts, or they'd wandered in by mistake, or they're casing the place. Never legitimate business. "You can speak with a customer service representative," the guard gestured toward a row of desks along the far wall. "I'd prefer the manager." "The manager is very busy, unless you have an appointment." "I don't need an appointment." Her smile vanished. "Sir, if you continue to distract our customers, I will have to call the police." Around them, the whispers grew. A middle-aged woman clutched her purse tighter. A businessman took 2 steps back. The security guard returned, this time with a partner, both of them forming a subtle wall between the man and the rest of the bank. "These people always come to beg," someone muttered, not quite loudly enough. The man heard it. He didn't flinch. He simply stood there, his posture relaxed, his breathing even. "I'm not leaving, not until I speak with the branch manager." Jennifer's jaw tightened. She turned on her heel and disappeared through a door marked private. The seconds stretched. The lobby had gone quieter now, the kind of silence that comes when everyone is watching but pretending not to. Then the door opened again. This time, a man emerged. He was in his early 50s, graying at the temples, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. His tie was perfectly knotted. His shoes gleamed. He carried himself with the authority of someone who had spent decades climbing corporate ladders and now sat comfortably near the top. Branch manager David Harrington. He took one look at the dusty stranger and his expression darkened. "I understand you're refusing to leave," he said, his voice carrying across the lobby. "I'm here to see you," the man replied evenly. "I don't know you, and I don't have time for whatever this is." "Check my account." Harrington laughed, not with humor, but with irritation. "You don't have an account here." The man reached into his wallet, slowly, carefully. He pulled out a small card, old and worn, its edges soft from years of handling. The magnetic stripe was faded. The bank's logo was an older design, one they hadn't used in over a decade. He slid it across the reception desk. "Please," he said quietly, "check the balance." Harrington stared at the card as if it were a piece of trash someone had left behind, but something, maybe the man's calm certainty, maybe simple curiosity, made him pick it up. He gestured toward her and Jennifer. "Run it." She hesitated, then took the card to her terminal. She swiped it once, frowned, swiped it again, typed something, waited. Her eyes widened. She looked up at Harrington, then back at the screen, then back at Harrington again. "Sir," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "you need to see this." Harrington walked over. He looked at the screen. His face went pale. He scrolled, checked the details, scrolled again. His hand trembled slightly as he gripped the edge of the desk. The lobby was completely silent now. Harrington's fingers hovered over the keyboard as if touching it might somehow change what he was seeing. The numbers on the screen didn't make sense. They couldn't be real. Accounts like this didn't exist anymore, not in their system, not dormant for years without a single transaction, and certainly not belonging to someone who looked like he just walked off a construction site. The balance read, $847 million. $847 million. But that wasn't what made Harrington's breath catch in his throat. It was the account name, the registration details, the date it was opened. His hand moved to the mouse and he clicked through to the transaction history. The screen filled with entries, but they were sparse, spread across years. Large deposits, no withdrawals, the pattern of someone who put money in and never touched it. And then, 12 years ago, one massive transfer. $200 million moved into the bank's emergency reserve fund. The date was seared into Harrington's memory, March 2013. The month Sterling Gate Bank nearly collapsed. He had been a junior manager then, watching helplessly as their investments failed, as clients fled, as the board of directors held emergency meetings behind closed doors. The bank had been hemorrhaging money, teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Regulators were circling. The media was already writing the obituary. And then, like a miracle no one could explain, an anonymous investor had appeared. $200 million wired in from an unmarked account with instructions so simple they seemed absurd. Use this to stabilize. Pay me back when you can. No interest, no strings. The bank had survived. More than survived. It had rebuilt, expanded, become one of the most profitable branches in the region. But the loan had been repaid years ago, wired back to the same mysterious account. After that, silence. The board had tried to identify the investor, to thank them properly, to offer them preferred client status, partnerships, anything. But the account holder had remained anonymous, unreachable. Until now. Harrington looked up from the screen. The dusty man was watching him with those same calm eyes, patient, a stone. "You're..." Harrington's voice cracked. He cleared his throat. You're him?" The man didn't answer. He didn't need to. Jennifer had gone pale. She stared at her computer screen, then at the man, then back at the screen as if trying to reconcile two impossible realities. The security guards had taken a step back, suddenly uncertain. Around the lobby, customers were beginning to whisper again, but the tone had changed. Something was happening. Something big. Harrington set the card down on the counter with a reverence he hadn't shown before. "Mr..." He realized he didn't know the name. He looked at the screen again. "Mr. Chen, I apologize. I didn't know..." "You didn't ask," the man said quietly. The words hung in the air like an indictment. Harrington felt his face flush. He was a professional. He'd built his career on customer service, on reading people, on making clients feel valued. And he just tried to throw out the single most important account holder in the bank's history because of how he looked. "Please," Harrington said, gesturing toward his office. "Come with me. Let me..." "No." The refusal was soft, but absolute. Harrington blinked. "I'm sorry?" "I don't want to go to your office," Mr. Chen said. "I came here for a reason, and now I'm deciding whether to stay." "Stay? I don't understand." Mr. Chen reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. It was old, the screen cracked in one corner, the case held together with what looked like electrical tape. He tapped it a few times, then turned it to show Harrington the screen. It was a bank transfer form, already filled out, ready to be executed with a single confirmation. The amount? $847 million. The destination? First Union Bank, across the street. Harrington's stomach dropped. "Mr. Chen, please, if I've offended you..." "You have," Mr. Chen said simply, "but not just you." He turned slowly, his gaze sweeping across the lobby, the customers who had whispered about beggars, the security guards who had blocked his path, Jennifer who had threatened him with police. They all looked away now, suddenly fascinated with their phones, their paperwork, anything but his eyes. I've been banking here for 15 years, opened my account the day this branch was built. I watched it grow. I watched it nearly die. And when it needed help, I gave everything I could because I believed in what it represented. Stability, trust, community. His voice was steady, but there was weight behind it, the kind that comes from genuine disappointment. I don't dress like you, he said. I don't talk like you. I work with my hands. I get dirty. And today I came here straight from a rural village 3 hours north of the city, where I've been overseeing the construction of a school I'm funding for children who don't have one. Harrington's mouth had gone dry. The project manager drove me back to the city. My car is in the shop. I didn't have time to go home and change. I needed to access my account to authorize the next payment for materials. So I came here, to my bank, where I've kept my money for 15 years, where I saved this institution from ruin. He paused, letting the words settle. And I was treated like trash. Jennifer made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Her hand covered her mouth. Mr. Chen, Harrington began, his voice thick with desperation. I can't tell you how deeply I'm sorry. What happened here today is inexcusable. It doesn't represent who we are as an institution. Doesn't it? Mr. Chen interrupted gently. Because from where I'm standing, it represents exactly who you are. You judge people by their clothes, by their appearance, by whether they fit into your idea of what wealth looks like. He picked up his old debit card from the counter, studied it for a moment, then looked back at Harrington. I could have walked in here wearing a suit, he said. I could have made an appointment. I could have called ahead and had you roll out a red carpet. But I wanted to see something. I wanted to know if this place had changed, if the values I believed in 12 years ago were still here. And Harrington barely managed to whisper the word. Mr. Chen was quiet for a long moment. His thumb traced the edge of the worn card. Outside, the city hummed with afternoon traffic. Inside, every person in the lobby held their breath. I'm still deciding, he finally said.
Harrington felt the weight of 15 years of decisions pressing down on him. He thought about the awards on his office wall, the commendations for customer service excellence, the plaques celebrating Sterling Gates' recovery and growth. Every one of them was built on the foundation of this man's generosity, and he hadn't known. None of them had known. Mr. Chen, he said carefully, what can I do to make this right? Mr. Chen looked at him for a long moment, then gestured around the lobby. It's not about me anymore. It's about them. He meant the other customers, the ones still frozen in place watching this unfold like spectators at a play they hadn't bought tickets for. That woman there, Mr. Chen pointed to the lady in the cream blazer who had whispered about beggars. She sees someone who doesn't look like her and assumes the worst. That man in the suit, he moved away like poverty might be contagious. Your receptionist threatened me with police before asking a single real question. Jennifer's eyes were wet now. Her carefully applied mascara had begun to run. And you, Mr. Chen turned back to Harrington, you're the branch manager, the person who sets the tone for everyone here. You came out personally to remove me, not to help, not to understand, to remove. Harrington had no defense. Every word was true. I built my wealth slowly, Mr. Chen said. My parents were immigrants. They cleaned office buildings at night so I could go to school during the day. They taught me that dignity isn't found in bank accounts. It's found in how you treat people when you have nothing to gain from them. He slipped his phone back into his pocket. I made my first million in construction. Nothing glamorous. I learned the trade, worked harder than everyone else, saved every penny. When I had enough, I started my own company. We built affordable housing, community centers, places that mattered. And yes, I made money, a lot of it, but I never forgot where I came from. Around the lobby, people were really listening now. The whispers had stopped. Even the tellers had abandoned their windows to hear. When this bank was failing, Mr. Chen continued, I didn't help because I wanted recognition. I helped because my parents used to cash their cleaning company paychecks here. This was their bank, the place where they felt respected when so many others looked down on them. I couldn't let it die. Harrington felt something break inside his chest. "But today," Mr. Chen said softly, "I realized something. The bank survived, but the spirit of it, the thing my parents valued, maybe that died anyway." "No," Harrington said quickly. "No, it didn't. It's still here. We forgot. We lost sight of what matters." "Did you? Or is this who you always were once the crisis passed and you felt safe again?" The question cut deep because Harrington didn't know the answer. Mr. Chen checked his watch, a simple, practical timepiece with a scratched face. "I have a meeting in an hour with the school board in that village I mentioned. They're waiting for confirmation that the funds will clear so they can order desks and books. 300 children are waiting to start classes in a building that doesn't exist yet." He looked down at his dusty boots, then back up. "I can authorize that payment from this account, or I can move everything to First Union and authorize it from there. Either way, those children will get their school, but where I keep my money says something about what I believe in." Harrington understood. This wasn't about groveling or making promises. This was about something deeper. "What would you have us do?" Harrington asked. "I don't know if it's about what I'd have you do. It's about what you choose to do. See, you can't fix this moment. It happened, but you can decide what comes next." He gestured to the security guards. They were doing their job the way they were trained. Maybe the training needs to change. Maybe the culture does. He looked at Jennifer. She was protecting the bank, but from what? From someone who needed help? Maybe we need to ask better questions before we make assumptions. Then his eyes settled back on Harrington. "And you run this place. Every policy, every priority, every message about who matters and who doesn't flows from you. So I guess the real question is, what kind of bank do you want this to be?" The lobby was so quiet you could hear the ventilation system humming. Harrington straightened his shoulders. He'd built his career on making decisions. Time to make one that actually mattered. "Jennifer," he said, his voice clear and steady, "I want our customer service protocols brought up on the conference room screen. I want every staff member in this building assembled in 15 minutes. Jennifer nodded quickly and hurried away. Harrington turned to the security team. Effective immediately, we're implementing new training. Every employee, from guards to executives, if someone walks through those doors, they're treated with dignity, period. No exceptions based on appearance. The guards exchanged glances, but nodded. Then Harrington looked at the woman in the cream blazer. She had gone very still, her face flushed with shame. "Ma'am," he said gently, "I'm going to ask you a favor. Would you be willing to stay for the staff meeting? I think everyone here needs to hear what happened today, not to embarrass anyone, but to learn from it." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Harrington turned back to Mr. Chen. "I can't undo today, but I can promise you this. Sterling Gate Bank will become a place my parents would be proud to walk into. A place where everyone is respected, where dignity matters more than designer suits." He extended his hand. "Will you give us a chance to prove it?" Mr. Chen looked at the offered hand, at Harrington's face which showed genuine remorse, at the assembled staff who were watching their leader take responsibility rather than make excuses. Then he looked around the lobby one more time, at the marble floors and leather chairs and carefully cultivated image of wealth, and underneath it all he tried to see whether the foundation was still sound. Finally, slowly, he reached out and shook Harrington's hand. "I'll stay, for now, but I'll be watching." He pulled out his phone again and canceled the transfer request. $847 million would remain at Sterling Gate Bank, for now. "Authorize the payment for the school," he said to Harrington. $5 million for materials and labor. The children have waited long enough." Harrington personally escorted him to a private office, not to show off, but to give him the peace and respect he should have had from the beginning. As they walked, other customers watched, some with shame, some with newfound understanding, some with tears in their eyes. The woman in the cream blazer approached Mr. Chen as he passed. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He stopped and looked at her, really looked at her. Then he smiled, not smugly, but with genuine warmth. "We all make mistakes," he said. "What matters is what we do after." 3 hours later, Mr. Chen walked out of Sterling Gate Bank. The transfer had been completed, the school would be built, and in the branch manager's office, every employee had heard the story of the dusty stranger who changed everything. As he stepped into the afternoon sunlight, his phone buzzed. A text from the village project manager. "The board is celebrating. The children are dancing. Thank you." Mr. Chen smiled. His clothes were still dirty, his boots were still worn, but his heart was full. Because sometimes the greatest wealth isn't what you have in your account, it's what you do with it, and who you choose to be when no one's watching. This story reminds us that dignity cannot be measured in dollars, and character isn't determined by appearance. Mr. Chen's parents taught him something the bank had forgotten, that every person who walks through your door carries a story, a struggle, and a soul worthy of respect. The real test of our values isn't how we treat those who can benefit us, it's how we treat those we think cannot. Harrington and his team were given a rare gift that day, the chance to see their blind spots and choose differently. And that's the gentle truth folded into this tale. We all have moments when we judge too quickly, assume too much, or forget that kindness costs nothing but means everything. It's okay to recognize when we've been wrong. Growth starts there. The beautiful part is, every new day offers us the chance to do better, to see clearly, to lead with empathy instead of assumption. So remember, treat everyone like they might be the one who saves you when you're falling, because sometimes they are. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe to hear more folktales that remind us what really matters. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message today, and drop a comment telling us about a time when someone surprised you by being more than they appeared. Let's keep this conversation going. You've got this.